So on Thursday, August 15, 2024, there was a press conference in the city of Arlington, Texas, where it was announced by All Elite Wrestling that they are bringing the All In show to Arlington, Texas. Had a press conference there with city officials. TK, as in Tony Khan, announced that the pay-per-view will emanate from Globe Life Field Stadium on July 12, 2025. And it just so happens that this is the stadium where the Texas Rangers play for Major League Baseball, of course. It's a 40,000 seat arena. Probably they can probably do a little more for concerts and the like. But yeah, it's not the biggest stadium in the United States, but it's absolutely not the small. Like, this is a good sized, decent baseball stadium. And it will be the first pro wrestling show ever held in the venue as well. The All In event next year is going to be a production of AEW, Rev Entertainment, the Arlington Sports Commission, and the city of Arlington. So I'm sure that there's a lot of solid relationships that were developed here throughout the residency at the esports arena that AEW was using over the past a good part of the summer here to tape Collisions and Ring of Honor as well, and hold the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So probably a lot of good came out of this. Of course, it's unknown right now what financial incentives the promotion has been given to host an event, but I think it would be naive to think that they're not getting some kind of site fee, right? I think it would be, I think it would be naive to think that they're not getting some kind of money here for that. And in the over the course of the event, Khan also confirmed that All In is going to return to London in 2026. Don't worry there, y'all across the pond, you limey blokes. All In will be back in 2 years. So what to make of all of this? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think, first and foremost, I think that this is a smart move to begin with, right? And I think a lot of, I'm not exactly having an original thought here. I feel like there's a lot of people who feel the same way. And I'm a little, this was announced last Thursday. There's already been a few days. There's already been almost a week now that's transpired by the time you're listening to this. So probably there's a chance if you listen to other podcasts or you read your news somewhere, you probably got the same type of analysis here. Whereas in this circumstance, where I think it's a smart move because you can see immediately this year, 2024 All In London is not selling as much as last year. Last year was gangbusters crazy, and they filled out Wembley. This year, well, we're wondering if they're going to crack 50,000. That being said, I don't want you to have the impression that I'm knocking this, that I'm saying, what a failure. No, they're still sitting down 50,000 people to watch the show this weekend. Now, that's a success any way you cut it. I'm pretty sure that even last year they were counting on 50,000 and counting it as a success. And knowing that there's some attrition in regards to last year, that the product is not as hot, that you lose the cachet of doing, of holding a big event for the first time, that always draws more people. Losing all of that, well, you see what kind of returns you get. That's a lot of, we're losing about 25, maybe 30,000 tickets as opposed to last year. That's non-negligible. And maybe that's not something you want to repeat necessarily next year. By giving a year off in London, you have to expect that there's going to be that there's going to be maybe a little more people purchasing tickets this year because they know that next year the show's not coming. So it's like, well, we need to jump in and get our tickets this year because it's otherwise we got to wait for we got to wait for 2 years then maybe. And I think maybe like in 2 years, the cachet, while not returning completely, I think it's going to be interesting. I think people will be like, oh, well, now they're back this year. Let's head on in. And who knows? Maybe the product will be hotter in 2 years as well. Yeah, these are all things we'll have to see. But yeah, like, I think that the idea that it creates the expectation for London next in 2026 is a very, very good idea. And like Chad is pointing out as well, the idea of booking All In and booking it in July this year, or next year, is very interesting because then it does give some time between All In and All Out. There's not going to be like this skip, and 2 weeks later you're doing your next show. There's not going to. Now things are going to be able to breathe a little more. Maybe it'll be better for the schedule on that front. But then it makes me wonder, what are they going to do with Forbidden Door? Because Forbidden Door is usually at the end of June. So do you keep Forbidden Door at the end of June and then you have like this crash build for All In, which they're clearly positioning as their WrestleMania, right? This is let's nuance this a bit. Let's add a little substance, a little sidebar, but not exactly a sidebar because we're actually going to be, adding to the conversation as opposed to, having a complete aside here. They're clearly positioning All In as the WrestleMania, right? They're, everyone has been talking like, okay, what, and this has been going on for years. What's, AEW's marquee show? What's the big one? Well, a lot of people felt it was Double or Nothing for a while, since it was like the first real show under the AEW, the first pay-per-view under the AEW banner, right? Sure. A lot of people thought it was All Out just because it was like the first big show that they were doing that was leading into the TV. And All Out has had this aura of historical significance as well. It was, like I said, the first big show they put on. The return of CM Punk, his first pay-per-view match, his first match back after 7 years as well. Like, there's a lot of history, and All Out has always kind of felt like the big show for AEW fans, but it looks like Tony is closing the door on this and saying, no, All In's going to be the one. All In is going to be the one that we're going to associate with big stadiums, because we've done Wembley twice. Now we're doing one in the US. I don't think this is a momentum that he's going to let go of. I don't think he's going to slow down on this. I think year after year, this is going to be the show that they're going to head in to meet city officials and razzle dazzle them and try to get them into their stadium for a site fee. I think that's what they're going to do. This is going to be the show that they're going to do with this. So in that respect, it doesn't make sense then if this is your biggest show of the year, but you're going to spend weeks leading up to it in July building another show, Forbidden Door, that you're co-promoting with New Japan. Like, that doesn't quite make sense. So yeah, I think the idea, as Chad is pointing out, is that we might move back a Forbidden Door, or we might move it up, like past. Maybe we'll look. I don't know. Next year's schedule is going to be very interesting. Maybe we're realizing that 13 pay-per-views might not be ideal. Maybe all we need is 12. When Tony was saying he wanted to raise the number of pay-per-views, and he wasn't kidding, let me tell you. I think, I think that this is interesting. I think they're going to do a really good number. I think this is a show that's going to draw. They've got a full year to establish stuff and, hopefully find the formula to get themselves hot again. But even if they don't, I think this is a show people are going to travel to. I think this is going to be a something that's going to drain people to the city. And I also think that this is going to be an event that's going to create another like little WrestleMania weekend kind of thing, right? I think it makes sense. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be all sorts of indies that are going, the local indies are going to fire up and try to do some stuff. But I think like even some of the more national independents are going to come in and do some things. Maybe some of AEW's partners might come in to do some things as well. Because don't forget, Tony said something to the effect that there would be events planned throughout the week, right? And everyone immediately thought, oh, well, yeah, there's going to be Dynamite and there's going to be Rampage and there's going to be Collision. But, you could do a little more. You could do a little more than just like doing your TV shows. We're very, in Texas, you can probably sell some Lucha Libre tickets a little easier. All I'm saying, right? And don't forget, like the 12 is a Saturday, July 12th, 2025. Yeah. So there's that. So, that's interesting as well. Like you can absolutely have like a full day of stuff. You can have, Thursday, Friday full of indie shows and whatnots, and just a lot of stuff going around this event. Who knows? Maybe we'll go back to the indie, to the WrestleMania weekends of old. If I can be so bold, and boy, am I rhyming. So, it's interesting. You have to wonder, okay? Because we've seen, Nick Khan and Triple H take pictures with who was it, like the mayor of London or something? I don't know. There's a lot of people wondering, does this mean WWE is going to London next year? And maybe, this is a way for AEW to just avoid oversaturating the market, and that people will buy tickets to WWE and then probably won't have the resources for AEW, whatever, It's like you do one or the other. You travel for one or the other, not both, kind of thing. And maybe, there's been some talks. Of course, it's not going to be WrestleMania next year. That's going to London because we already know it's in Vegas. Another show, another one of the big shows. I don't know. Look, I couldn't tell you. I don't know, but maybe. But the more I think about it, it's like maybe not. Like the signs point. A lot of the signs don't point to. A lot of the signs don't point to. A lot of the signs don't point to WWE going to London next year. Like actually heading out there. You can't discount that as a possibility. I have a tendency to think that they just looked at their internal metrics and they're looking at their internal metrics. They're going over everything and they're like, no, listen, it would probably be a better idea to have All In the United States next year as opposed to heading out to London again. And then maybe you're just diluting the product. You create a little rarity, a little scarcity. It's just like, oh, well, you're going to have to wait till next year, kiddies, kind of things. Oh, shucks. And then you get excited again, as opposed to becoming complacent. Oh, yeah, AEW is coming back. That's not the reaction you want. You want, oh, AEW is coming back. That's the reaction you're looking for. That has the second reaction has a tendency to sell tickets. Has a tendency to have someone open up their wallet. as opposed to, not, as opposed to not opening up their wallet. Does this, does this mean like it's an automatic success? It's an automatic guarantee? No, but it does establish an interesting little current for next year. If anything, I feel like AEW should have ran a stadium show in the US before this. I would have run a stadium show in 2023. Everyone's fully out of the pandemic. AEW was still 2022, actually. 2023 was last year. I would have done it in 2022. Coming out of the pandemic, everyone, you still have a good buzz around everything you're doing. CM Punk's still around, or sort of, or kind of, depending. And people are hype. They're excited to get out of the house. They just want to. They've been cooped up for so long. They just want something to do live. I think, had I been Tony Khan, I would have run the stadium show in 2022. I would have done that back then. Is it too late? No, of course it's not too late. It's never too late. But I think it's gonna do some good for the company. I think it's gonna do some good local press. If they can turn it into a big enough event, show that wrestling's back, be fantastic. I just mean wrestling. You'll notice I didn't say WWE. I'm wrestling. He also, Tony Khan here was also saying, that he had two huge announcements, right, leading up to this. Remember, he was talking about the stadium show. It had been rumored for a while that there was a stadium show, maybe in the works. It had been rumored. Tony Khan had shot it down in an interview, but then it turns out no, it's fine. Yeah, I think it was Fightful that reported on July 15. Yeah, exactly. That AEW was planning on doing it. There you go. The other announcement, of course, is the media deal. That's what we're all assuming, right? For a big media deal. That's what we're assuming right now. Look, there's still too much in the air right now. A lot of stuff that still is not clear. So I don't want to sit here and start breaking down a deal that doesn't exist. Okay, that'd be nonsense, right? But I'm pretty sure that's the next one coming in. And I've been a proponent here, as opposed to a lot of people who said that AEW wouldn't make it to the end of 2024. A lot of people said on podcasts that AEW would not make it unless they brought in Jinder Mahal. Shout out Mike Gilbert. And in this case here, I've been maintaining that they were going to resign and they were going to get a raise. The amount of the raise they were going to get, I don't know what it'd be, but Tony Khan always said that he was confident, that he was feeling good, that he was having good negotiations, good talks. And, recently he started flexing a lot more. But even before he started flexing, there's one thing that I've noticed about Tony Khan is that in these types of situations, for these, like, he doesn't lie to media. He will dance around things, maybe. He will deflect, but he will never lie. And he won't say no, or he won't say something that doesn't happen, right? So when he started talking about we're having great conversations, things are going well, you could always chalk that up to him saying, to him just like, keeping some solid, honest groundwork going on right now. As opposed to, I think that if things weren't going well, I think we'd feel his annoyance a little more. I don't think he'd come straight out and say, these negotiations are shit. Everything is terrible. I don't think he'd be that upfront, but he'd probably make us understand that he was a little annoyed and things weren't going his way. But he's been talking about it's going to be the biggest deal in AEW history, how it's going to set the promotion comfortably for years. Our future's bright, etc., etc. And today, Sean Ross Sapp over on Fightful Select made a report where he wrapped up a lot of things, but added a little tidbit of information. And I'll read this off to you here. Sources close to the situation said that even previous to the most recent offer, All Elite Wrestling had been offered at least double, and these are in quotes, at least double the amount of their previous deal. Okay? Now, at first I was like, oh, okay, so they're getting double, but no. That was the previous deal. Let's read that again. See, sources close to the situation said that even previous to the most recent offer, All Elite Wrestling had been offered at least double. So previously to the most recent offer, they were offered double. Now they have another offer on the table, which is more than double. So AEW is getting a lot of cash here. They're going to get a lot of money. That's what we like. Of course, if the report is to believed, and I'm pretty sure Sean has done his diligence here and is made quite sure that these statements don't come from the janitor, for instance. Not that I'm not saying that his sources are bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, I'm pretty sure he quadruple checked this to make sure that everything was okay, because this is such a hot button topic, right? Because somehow, in the minds of the dopiest wrestling fans, AEW is not a success, and I mean that I mean that in the most profound sense, deep in my heart. I believe that people, I believe that these grifters, these bad faithers really do believe that AEW is not a success. I think some of them don't, come to think of it. Some of them know it's a success, but won't say it out loud because it's bad for the brand. But, there's a lot of people who believe that AEW is a failure for some reason because it's not pulling numbers like WWE, which is insane to me. And you cannot say that this promotion has not been a success. Television ratings, pay-per-views, like the metrics are there. They could be better. Ratings could be better. Attendance could be better. Absolutely. But to think that this is a failure, everyone's completely off their gourd here. Like just completely out of their mind. So you know what this does? This means that the bad faithers and the grifters, they're all going to have to find something else to complain about, right? Everyone who was saying that AEW is not going to make it till the end of 2024, they're going to go out of business and so on. They're about to sign a huge deal. Will it be as big as WWE? No, most probably not. It's not going to be as big as WWE, But but nonetheless, it's going to be a huge deal that is probably going to make them solvent. As long as if it does that, that's a huge deal. If it gives them the wiggle, if it gives them, the wiggle room to do other things, that's tremendous as well. There's a tremendous amount of really good things to come out of here, right? So of course, these bad faithers are going to have to try and find something else. And you know what? The goalposts have already been moved. They're already set. They're already, you can see, because, the Lord and Savior of the bad faith actors regarding AEW, Eric Bischoff, he's already tweeted something out today. He's already prepared because he's heard the news. He's probably had a couple of inside friends tell him, the deal's coming up and it's going to be huge. And he's probably grumbling, next to his big green egg in Nebraska, and he's probably real angry. And he's like, well, what are we going to talk about now? Because one of their things was that constantly was saying AEW is going to go out of business by the end of the year. By the end of 2024, it's not going to make it. But now he's grumbling because he is going to make it, because the deal is going to be renewed with Warner Brothers and it's going to be for a lot of money. So Eric Bischoff today, in preparation for that, has already sent out the talking points to his legions of goobers to make sure that everyone knows what to respond when reasonable people like myself and a lot of you, my A+ audience, are going to put forward here. And what is he complaining about? Well, he's complaining about the creative now. Because here's the look. Let me read the tweet. Let me get it here. Let me pull up the tweet. And I'll just read it off, and you'll see straight off the bat. Right? Okay. So they're making. Here are the new talking points, folks. It is to the point where Tony Khan will be forced to put a new creative system / process in place in order to survive. There's the word survive again. He wasn't going to survive 2024, but now he's surviving. And now he is going to make it past it, but he's going to need this new creative system to survive. A renewal with WBD will only buy them time. That's all it does. It will only buy them time until the inevitable. You see? You see what we're doing here? The product will continue its current trajectory, losing audience, deteriorating ticket sales until this issue is resolved. Tony has the resources to accomplish this. The current lip service lauding their current storylines is laughable. There is no structure, discipline, or any of the elements of a story that makes it compelling. I really hope Tony comes to this realization before it's too late. There you go. Now we're falling back on the creative. We're falling back on the creative, okay? Falling back on the creative, this old tired trope where you can objectively point and say, this is no longer real. There is no longer a problem with storytelling in AEW. Folks, I'm going to talk about it when we do the preview, but just as a preamble, All In this weekend, every single match on the card has a story, and not just like a last minute slap together thing. Everything has a build. Everything has a story, even down to the gauntlet match with Orange Cassidy and his buddy, and Orange Cassidy winning the #1 spot. Everything on this show has a story. And if you've been paying attention, if you've been listening to the AEW reviews that I do on every Thursday, you will know that everything has stories on AEW now. Everything connects. Everything makes sense. There's a lot of things that are over. All of these stories have, most of them have a lot of heat, a lot of buzz. That's just how it is. So you see what we're grasping at. We're going back to the old standards. AEW doesn't have stories. Observably false, and the most dishonest presentation of AEW you can get. But of course, like I'm telling you this, and I'm not expecting Eric Bischoff to watch the show. He doesn't watch the show. He doesn't watch AEW. We know this. He doesn't even watch WWE because he sees Tama Tonga and he says, "Oh, this bright young man," or whatever. Tama Tonga, 40 years plus. What a great young man. You know, shades of Carlos Colon here, coming into the Royal Rumble. This is the point, is that these are going to be the talking points moving forward. We're going back to the stories. But anyone who watches WWE knows that that's full of shit. Anyone who watches AEW, knows that this is full of shit, that there are stories everywhere. I would argue there are more stories on AEW than there are in WWE these days. Everything on All In has a story and a build to varying degrees of interest. That's very personal at that point, but they're there. I'd say that it's to a degree where I'm like, maybe I'd like a few stories less. Maybe, one or two less. And there's stories on the undercards and stuff. The hologram debut. Tremendous stuff. And then he gets into the ring with, and then there's has a little couple of week thing with the Beast Mortos. Ends up having a tremendous match. There's stories everywhere, up and down. You just can't stick with that narrative anymore. Coming from Eric Bischoff, right? who would just throw the cruiserweights together every Monday night and just like, do whatever. There weren't stories in the cruiserweights. They didn't need stories, don't get me wrong. But there weren't stories. This is why, these people are going, the reason why Eric and people like him are going to cling to this stuff is because this is what they've built for themselves now. This is where they've pigeonholed themselves in. They can't backtrack and then start going, you know what, AEW is doing pretty good now. They can't, because their entire brand is talking to the discontents, to the malcontents, and the people that already hate them, who already can't stand them, the fans, the actual AEW fans who can't stand this stuff. They're not going to suddenly go, oh, maybe I should go listen to Eric Bischoff. No. He's poisoned now. He's poisoned himself to that crew. So of course he's got to continue down this road. He's got to find something else. So that being said, just prepare. I don't know when this announcement's going to come up. When I do it on the 5th anniversary show, the 5th anniversary Dynamite, which is what, in October, something like that, right? Isn't it in October? That's when I do it. And then boom, you set out your press releases. Or I send out the press releases and the announcements everywhere like a half hour before a Monday Night Raw. That's what I do. So, we got the stadium show. That was the big announcement. The other announcement, we don't know what it is right now. Wink, wink.